Nako, hey folks, the Call of Africa. Welcome back to Nako here on Chris Wyatt Africa. It is Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. I want a refund. Somebody stole 7 months of the year. Here we are in August already. I know South Africans are excited because they're emerging from winter like butterflies coming out of their cocoon. They'll be getting spring very soon. Of course, we'll be headed towards fall. But welcome to the program, folks. Tonight, we welcome a new member of the panel, and that's Nolu, previous guest on the program. Now she's everybody's favorite cup of tea. I see she shows up on everybody's channel. Even Dodgy Joe Emilio has her as a guest, I saw. So she's everywhere. So welcome back to the program. And everybody, feel free to ask your questions over in the chat. We're going to get started here. You know, it's typical South Africa. There's nothing to talk about. Not. Plenty to talk about here. So let me welcome my co-host on the program here, Dumo, and then we have Koketso Retsani, and now Nolu is with us. Dumo, what's the word, man? How you doing, man? Okay. Well, I do have to say this. We've had the show, and we've always had at least two people on the program. It's always Dumo and I. Koketso, he's like in high demand. People always demanding his time. He's like one of those jet-setting rich caters. You know, he's always in demand. So, Koketso, how you doing, man?
Used a bad webcam quality, but you know how these computers are. Just having one of those days where I'm first in, last out.
Ah, okay. And folks, once again, you know, snafu, because I use the same software for two programs, two platforms. The default was on silent, and I didn't realize that because I can hear it. So people didn't hear Dumo a moment ago, and they missed the beginning of Koketso. So, but they're all really here to listen to Nolu, so I don't think that matters anyway. Just kidding, guys. Sorry about that.
Right.
Sorry about that. But yeah, no, it's I to avoid the copyright stuff, because I actually got a copyright claim when drawing a blank here right now. At the Wales game, what's his name's fiance? He had his 100. Ebenetzebeth had his 100 tests, and his fiance sang in Coses Africa. I got a copyright claim, not from her, from some company in Latin America claiming that music belonged to them. Are you serious? And Coses Africa doesn't belong to some company in Latin America. Anyway, sorry. So that's why it was on mute. Apologies for that. We're back.
Wait.
Yeah.
Aren't all anthems public domain anyway?
Yes, they are. But I've gotten a copyright claim for the Chilean national anthem when I covered them playing USA. I've gotten one for the South African national anthem. I've gotten one for the French anthem every time it's played. And I've even got one for the German anthem. It's nonsense. It's YouTube harassment. But anyway. All right, so everybody can hear everybody now. So Nolu, welcome to the program. How are you this evening?
I'm great. I just got back myself from the office. So yeah, that's why I look it's like serious, I guess. But not close to Koketso. Hey, he's brushing up this evening.
Brother's looking good.
Brother's looking fresh, right?
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
Hey.
So look at that. Look at that. The ladies are in the chat asking for his digits. I don't have his digits, and I can share with you. I need his permission for that, ladies. But meanwhile, Dumo and I are looking like beggars. He's got a hoodie on. I'm wearing a T-shirt. These guys look all professional. So the professional members of the panel are at the bottom, folks. You can ask them your real questions. Dumo and I are just here for do a little particle flavoring. I am your pigmentationally challenged host of the program. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, I mean, if I apply for a contract with the government in South Africa, I will be pigmentationally challenged. I won't get it. It's against the law.
That's true.
It's against the law. Anyway, hey, let's start with this. Ladies and gentlemen, I suspect you may have seen the interview. I couldn't stomach the whole thing, but I saw excerpts of it from the BBC's Hard Talk. One Julius Malema, the exalted leader of the economic freedom fighters, going on and very carefully parsing his words so he can't be accused of making domestic terrorist threats, but basically saying that the revolution is coming. It will be unled, but we're ready to lead it, and if we need to. And white people will be first, and then black elites. That sounds to me like a veiled threat. Dumo, any thoughts on that one?
Wow. I'm not surprised. Not surprised by that comment. I didn't watch the interview, but I won't be surprised that he had said something of that nature. Remember that whole hate speech case that he's got now with AfrForum? And, he really made his intentions very clear in that, how could you say, that interaction that he had with the advocate Oppenheimer. So I think now Julius Malema is really trying to push this whole unled revolution thingy. And I just think that, in my opinion, this is nothing more than, look, I mean, I'm not saying that South Africa won't get into that phase, but it sounds very Marxist in that sense. A lot of
load shedding just kicked in. We'll get him back in a moment. I think he got load shedding. So let's shift to Koketso and pick up the stream from there. Koketso, while he gets his generator on, any thoughts about Julius?
Look, I think I've said before that those who oppose nothing are always the first to ask for the destruction of particularly private property and even the livelihoods of other people. So, textbook hallmark of someone who hasn't added any value to society besides rambling on about injustices, etc., and of course the original sin. But again, my issue is still that people give Julius Malema airtime to do all of these things. He's not bringing anything new to the table. He's never telling us about how the country can be fixed. Instead, he's always rambling on about socialist Marxist values, which will, quite frankly, set society back. And this is someone with a master's degree who tomorrow will obtain his PhD at some point. And you'd think a learned man would, at the very least, know a little bit about history. Everything he calls for has never worked anywhere, least of all in our neighboring country, Zimbabwe, either. So, I haven't seen the whole interview, but again, I could probably, you should probably pay me money for guessing correctly what isn't there.
No. Okay, I'm not going to pay you money, but but you're probably spot on. But to be fair, Julius does have a plan. They do have a plan: nationalization of all mines, expropriation of all property. Chase all the white people into the ocean, and that's pretty much the plan. So he's got a plan. The thing is that the plan is unworkable and it's also immoral, to say the least. So anyway, but I got you 100%, and I wouldn't force you to sit and watch it. I did because I need to analyze these things, and it was painful. But and I agree with you, Koketso, that the media gives him, and it's not just him. I mean, Ace Magashule getting airtime on South African media, Dr. Zweli Mkhize being considered as a legitimate candidate to lead the ANC. I mean, this guy, why hasn't he been charged with crimes? The Special Investigating Unit said they have the evidence. They report he committed crimes. Now, he's innocent until proven guilty, but he needs a day in court. And in order for a day in court, he needs to be charged with a crime. He's sitting in Parliament earning a salary and not in a jumpsuit. You want to discuss that before we move on to Nolu?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way.
Nolu jumped in. Go ahead, Nolu.
No. Sorry. No, Koketso, please go for it. These guys, they just exhaust me.
I just wanted to say that, look, they're not the first batch of politicians, or let me say elected officials in some capacity, or those with high office to actually go through this. This is actually, this is part of the course, really. All the noise in the world, evidence gets found, and then we hear about how there's enough to actually lay down a charge, and either the charge never gets laid, or when it does, it just takes so long for court proceedings that, by the time there is actually a judgment at the end of it all, I've probably grown a few more hairs. And by the time we hear anything material of it all, my beard will be back too. So it's just one of those.
Well, I think what'll happen is, I don't know what grow more hairs, but by the time you see resolution, you'll probably have a few gray on the temple there is what's going to happen. So that's, by the time we see some action here, it's going to be a long time. Nola, why don't you jump in there, and then when you're finished, we'll get back, give Dumo a chance to finish up since Eskom struck at his house. But go ahead, Nola.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. They never go. They never actually get to be guilty. No charges. They're living the best life. But I think that's why the ANC will hold on to power for dear life, because they know as soon as they come out there, they become ordinary people, and they will be treated like ordinary people, I believe and I hope. So therefore, that they're just enjoying. I think they're actually enjoying the last kicks of a dying horse, because truly that's where the ANC is at right now. And so long as they're in power, none of them will actually, I'd say, go to prison. So it's the way it is. Sadly enough, it's what, I guess, politician, particularly in Africa, that's how we do politics.
That's pretty sad, Nola, but I like your analogy there. It's the last kicks of a dying horse. That's actually pretty good. That, the ANC is definitely it's definitely a dying entity. It's probably going to fracture into multiple segments here sometime very soon. We're already seeing this in KwaZulu-Natal, where the Radical Economic Transformation faction is up singing and dancing for Jacob Zuma at their party conference, and then the slate that was friendly to Cyril Ramaphosa is completely wiped out, and it's all radical economic transformation members that come in and take over the party. So you've got this schism of, I don't want to say reasonable ANC, because I don't think there's much of that left. Most of those people have dead or retired or have lost interest. So there's this faction that's not really a Ramaphosa faction, but the sort of pseudo around Ramaphosa, and then you've got the RET already split, and you've got the IFP now controlling 30 municipalities outright or through coalitions, minority and majority coalitions in KwaZulu-Natal. I think KwaZulu-Natal is on the verge. You know, people are talking about Western Cape secession. Look for Zulu secession in KZN first. That's probably going to come first. So, Dumo, you got cut off there rudely, switching from Jenny to the mains back. So did you want to finish your thought, or is it already too far gone, or you want to jump in here on what we're just talking about?
Yeah, I'll just one small thing. It's just that, well, with regards to that comment that Malema made, I just feel that this is just Marxist rhetoric coming up over and over again, just pushing it, and that's what he truly believes at the end of the day. Don't know if there will be an unled revolution, but I know that Malema is banking on that. But it'll be very interesting, even if he tries to even jump on that and lead that revolution. I think people are going to call him out very quickly, and he might actually be at the back. Because if you look at guys like Nhlanhla Lux, for example, and so forth, who Malema views as a threat, he may lose to Nhlanhla Lux. So that's the reality in terms of popularity. So I don't think Malema has a good chance anyway of leading an unled revolution.
I don't think Malema has a good chance of leading anything except a bunch of discontented malcontents or easily hoodwinked because they either low education or low critical thinking capacity. As I've always told South Africans in my assessment, the EFF is at max a 15% vote garnering at the national level party, at max. They've not achieved that yet. I don't think, and I've said that since the day the thing was organized. They'll never get, look, I mean, you can always find people who are disgruntled, who don't understand why things are the way they are, or don't care, or people who are just malicious, who will glom towards something like the EFF, which has no real ideas other than steal from other people and destroy. But most South Africans aren't like that. And I think it's important here too. You know, I want people to avoid the stupid stereotypes because, you know, guys, on my program early on, I had a lot of viewers when I started a couple years ago, and I would always hear things from black and white South Africans. So I'm not picking on either skin pigmentation here, but I would hear things like, well, you know, they'll never not vote for the ANC. And I'd say, who? And the blacks. And then I get that from black people and from white people. So it wasn't meant to be racist, but people have this very simple-minded or simplistic view of black South Africans. Let's just start from the basis. I mean, there's so many different ethnic groups of black South Africans, for starters, not to mention the influx of at least 5 million foreigners from across Africa that are in South Africa now too. So speaking for black South Africans is a comical gesture to begin with, just like speaking for white South Africans is comical. So I think it's important to talk about people in context. You know, I've always told a lot of Afrikaners in South Africa, you have natural allies in black Africans in South Africa. Remember your history when the Trek Boers came up to what became the Free State and the Transvaal. You saw Zelinsky was running rampant through there, and he was preying on the Griquas and on the Basotho and the Tswana peoples. And, you know, all of you linked up and got together, and actually Trek Boers and Basotho and Griquas and Tswana fought to chase Zelinsky north of Limpopo. And there's a historical natural link there. The tensions, in my experience, and you can tell me if you think I'm naive, and I'll go to Koketso next because he knows the Tswana folks. But the tension between Tswana peoples and white South Africans or Afrikaners in particular seems to be a lot less, and same with Basotho. Now, to be fair, the Basotho and the Trek Boers fought a whole bunch of wars, and Mshweshwe had to go up into the mountains to preserve his kingdom. But the point is that there are natural allies there for people who are rational, who want the best for South Africa. Koketso, do you think I've mischaracterized this in any way? Feel free to correct me if I've got the record wrong, if it's too simple.
Look, I mean, in the simplest form, you are correct. Much of the battle has always been over autonomy. Wars are fought over resources, land, etc. Sometimes to just purely dominate your opponent. But I mean, Bantu people from all corners of the country, really, they've just been wishing and longing for an autonomy that was just never given to them. And that's exactly the scenario that even the Voortrekkers had to go through. Even those who landed on ships from Europe found that exact scenario. People fighting amongst each other over autonomy just so they can rule themselves. Amongst my own people, part of the reason we really scattered all over was because, simple things really. You'll get two brothers that disagree on something, and then one's going to basically take his people and decide to go on a lovely little exodus, if I can put it like that, with a small pocket of people. Then before you know it, lo and behold, you've got a new clan, really. And that kind of history has really been repeating itself all over sub-Saharan Africa, and it's nothing unusual. It is the actual norm. And that's exactly the kind of scenario that the Afrikaners found themselves in the early days as well. So yeah, I do agree with you that they are natural allies, because much of the same problems has been experienced by at varying levels, I suppose, two different groups, but there is a shared common history there. And it's even reflected in some of the friendships that were built over time as well, particularly with the Afrikaners and then Ndebele, for instance. So, there's shared friendships even in there. And of course, the one of the obvious ones really comes with some of the basic farmers out in the Free State who build friendships with the local Basotho clans. And those friendships are even ongoing up until now. But yeah, it's a lot we can get into, of course, like even with the Botswana, for instance. Some went all the way down south to where the Basotho are. And now you start mixing the two different cultures, and then you get a very unique, specific subset of people who basically start doing things like amalgamating the language and bringing together some of the cultural practices, etc. This is all evidence. The only bad thing is that we as a people weren't really good at codifying and documenting our history, and that's our own fault, of course. But yeah, had we done a better job, this would have been more common knowledge. And this is exactly the kind of thing that people even DM me about when they really just want to know a little bit more on top of that, which they do know. And I do wish that somehow we pull an AfrForum and come together and start actually creating a library of our shared knowledge, really, so that it can last for generations, not just today.
No, Koketso, I think that's a wonderful point to make. People often ask me, why do I have this affinity for the Tswana and the Basotho people? Well, I've lived among the Tswana, so there's a reason for that. And I think they're good people by and large. Of course, we've all got our turds in every ethnic group, but by and large, good people. And I like the cultural traditions and the nature of it. But the Basotho and the Tswana are really cousins. They're not that far disconnected, as you talked about here. And I explained to people that they were next door neighbors, until the Mfikane, and then, this big diaspora cleared out much of the Free State and kind of create a bit of a buffer there. I'm oversimplifying, but you get the picture here, and kind of separated folks artificially. But you're right. I mean, just in Botswana, let me see if I can remember some of these. So you've got the Baka, you've got the Bakwena, you've got the Bangwato, the Baralong, the Tokloa, I think is another one. All these are all different subgroups of the Tswana or the Botswana in Botswana alone. And it's, people talk about, Botswana is a homogenous country. Yes and no. Yes and no. 85% of the people may be Tswana speakers, but that 85% is subdivided into at least 6 major groups. And it's the same because most Tswana speakers are in South Africa, over 2.5 million right there on the other side. So I think it's a great point that you make there, and appreciate that. So Nolu, you come from a different part of the country, and I can never pronounce it correctly because I'm not good with clicks. The Koketso people are from, so my apologies for butchering it. The Koketso people have had a very interesting history too, with other Bantu groups, with the Trek Boers and the half a dozen wars were fought at the beginning of the 19th century, or is it, wait, 17? Beginning of the 19th century, sorry. I had to go from 1795 to 1820 something. Anyway, and then also interaction with the Khoi and San. It's always been a very mixing bowl for the Xhosa people. Is that a fair statement, do you think?
Yeah, sure. As much as I'm not that great when it comes to the history in terms of Xhosa people, as you know.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting you're under the age of 25, so you don't know anything about it.
No, it's not that, Chris. I'm just not that really deep. But what I don't like, if I will start with that, is that our history tends to be distorted, especially when it comes to what we stand for. We are different, and being different, we are unique, especially in South Africa. As Koketso just explained, even the Xhosa people, they are different, they are unique. People would say that Xhosas and Zulus, they're actually quite similar. Yes, we are similar, but that distinction is actually quite important, and it's something we should be embracing. That's why movies such as your Black Panthers, I feel like they're distorting it because they want us to be a mixture. That's not it, and that culture is quite important. And yes, as you said, in terms of war and everything, as again Koketso said, our mistake is that we never really write down our history, so much that it is quite distorted. You hear it from the far left people who want to hijack it and says that, you know what, we never even used to comb. You're thinking, seriously? We never even, that whole thing of us actually being hard workers. I'm like, what are you talking about? My great-grand was a hard worker. She'd wake up at 4 a.m. My dad, who's nako, who happens to be Tswana, he is actually a hard worker. He still wakes up at 4 a.m. So are you telling me they were taught by white people? No, they used to farm. So therefore, that is why they're used to waking up so early and actually working the land. So for me, I just found that to be quite a bizarre. So I just feel that, Shem, it really has done a disservice, because now our history is being written by far leftist Marxist people who are lying, who just happen to read 2-3 books, and then they write a paper, a research paper. Then they get some kind of a grade, PhD, from UCT and Oxford and the likes. Then they open up a podcast and they talk lies. So I just think that that's just being a disservice for us. I wanted to understand it, because now when I would read your Biko books and whatever, I just found that I really didn't really get much from them. But then, that's just the wars has always been there, and we fought and we continue to fight. It's a lie to say that some people believe aggression was to us, it was taught by white people. It's a lie. We fought amongst each other, Even Shaka Zulu, he was a conqueror. He wanted to conquer everything, including all the Nguni tribes. He wanted to go up, even to Zimbabwe. That shows that we fought amongst ourselves, and it was the time and the day and the season of that time. So therefore, it's not something we were taught by white people. And I think those are things that we need to dispel, because they're just lies. But like I said, our history is being told by the far lefties who are just liars, who want to push a narrative and tell us that we were just people who just lived. We didn't have structure, we didn't have order, which is just an absolute lie.
Yeah, it's just utter utter nonsense. Go ahead, Koketso.
We all held hands and sang Kumbaya until the ships from Europe arrived.
The evil white people came and subjected us to this misery. Yeah, no, it's such nonsense. I mean, the history of Homo sapiens is one of conflict and conquest and colonization. Every Bantu person in South Africa is the descendant of a colonist. That's the truth. Every white South African is the descendant of a colonist. They all arrived from somewhere else, except for the Khoi and San, and even they came from somewhere, but they've been there 50,000 years, so we'll give them the OG original gangster title for South Africa. They've earned that 50,000 years. So the Khoi and San are the OG, and by extension, the colors are, because they've got Khoi and San blood, so they're OGs. But everybody else, you're all colonists, man. Every time that Malema wants to get up there, and when Mugabe was always like, one settler, one bullet, I'm like, do you have 14 million bullets? You're going to kill every Zimbabwean? And one settler, one bullet. I mean, look, you people came down the Great Rift Valley 1,500 years ago and crossed the Zambezi, and they're like, hey, this is pretty cool. And it wasn't like it was unoccupied. It wasn't like it was milk and honey and bees were hanging around giving you honey. No, the Khoi and San were there, especially the San. Oh, that's not true. Well, then where do these rock paintings come from in Matabele land and in Mashona land in the Northeast? They were there because these people were there. And when you came, you displaced them. Now, some people are Xhosa say, but the Xhosa got along. Well, the Xhosa are an exception. Most of the other Bantu tribes either subsumed or wiped out or chased away the Khoi and San. People didn't move in the Kalahari because, hey, this is a cool spot. I like the sunshine and water once every 6 years. Let's hang out here. No, they were marginalized and pushed there. Anyway, I go on a rant, so we'll stop there. Anyway, but Nolu, I do have to tell you this. The reason your dad has such a great work ethic, and Koketso's going to love this, because he's Tswana. So, make sure you know that, okay?
No. No. Actually, you know what? The funny thing, I'm both related to both Xhosa and he is Tswana as well. So therefore, my mother is Dumo, and then my dad, of course, Koketso. So no, I don't think so.
Come on, man. I'm going to push that stereotype about the Tswana people. They're hard workers. Koketso likes that.
I like your dad already. I'm just saying.
See? There you go. All right, Dumo. Listen, this trip that I've got coming up, my South Africa tour, it's called the Not a Garden Boy tour. Shut up! Shut up! So it's my not a garden boy tour. I'm making posters in South Africa. I'm going to hang them at my events. Not a garden boy tour. Anyway, I'm thinking about T-shirts, but I'll be careful where I wear them. Not around saps. Anyway, so seriously, I've been booking, and people have been very generous, taking care of accommodation for me. Some people paying for accommodation, other people hosting me in their homes, and lots of people trying to arrange their schedule to meet with me. I'm so grateful for it. But someone came through with hang on. You're going to give me Koketso. Give me a second. Someone just came through with a very important booking for me. I've got a place secured, and I'm going to be staying in Tembisa. Do you think that's a good idea? I just thought I'd ask that to Dumo real quick. Is that a good idea? No.
I think it is a good idea. Tembisa's not a there's a lot of
Do you have a
sections
gun,
there,
Chris? You need a gun, Chris.
But I can get one in the tuck shop. They're only 50 rand. Let me
you can get a
Koketso wants to
I'm the closest one.
Yeah, go ahead, Koketso.
I'm the closest person to Tembisa here. So
go ahead. Okay, I think you're going to say something about the accommodation too, but hang on, Dumo. Let's let Koketso get him before we forget that point. Go, Koketso, you were going to say about accommodation?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I'm trying to set you up at my mom's house for Zero Stazzle. I don't know if she'll be in town around the same dates there. So yeah, I'm trying to set you up there so you can sleep on my bed back home.
Well, that'll be awesome, and if your mom's there, it'd be all the better. It'd be really a pleasure and a privilege to meet her. So I look forward to that. But yeah, so you stay close to Tembisa. So all right, cool. So Dumo's saying it's safe for me to stay there. If nothing else, at least I'll get newsworthy reporting, right? Good Lord.
Well, it's
That's
not
how you
all
need
the
a gun.
time.
It's only sporadic.
And Tembisa's it's a big area, so
Yeah.
if you know exactly where in Tembisa, then that'll help out.
It was not mildly entertaining, but certainly ironic to see the burning tires and the barriers put up, blocking access to the Tembisa hospital. And you notice that the streetlights were all functioning there. The power was on. They weren't broken. The petrol station was in operation. The robots were turning. Lights were changing. There were no potholes in the road where this was happening. Look, that doesn't mean that all things are hunky-dory in Tembisa, but it's ironic that people protest in the one place where the services are actually working and not actually go to, but they did. They went to the community center and they went to the police station and torched that. It's really, really sad. So, let's you knew Tembisa was going to come up in this conversation. So Dumo, let's start. What are your thoughts about Tembisa? Do you have any thoughts about it? And maybe the broader issue in general, people acting, this is my phrase, acting the fool over a lack of service delivery and taking their anger out in a stupid fashion. We saw Richards Bay last week. People were chopping down power lines because they don't have electricity. So now nobody has electricity. That's really going to solve things. Who's going to pay to replace those poles? Where are they going to come from? So thoughts on that one, Dumo?
Right. I mean, I when I heard about this, I thought, wow, this is interesting. You don't hear service delivery protests coming out of Tembisa, for example. I mean, it's a very interesting story. The DA even said that it's actually, well, some people from the DA rather, let me put it that way, have alleged that the ANC is behind it because now the DA has taken over Ekurhuleni. So that could be the case. But, and also people destroying infrastructure because of a lack of service delivery is also nothing new to South Africa. This has been happening for a long time. Like, I mean, look at Fees Must Fall, for example. It wasn't a service delivery one, but again, people destroying school property. There has been many other places as well where services have not been delivered and they've used some sort of property destruction to actually get their voices heard. So it's nothing new in my opinion. I think that it's been kind of like a slow news week because service delivery protests are common in this country. I think we get like the highest number in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So now there's a big focus.
Second to Zimbabwe.
You look at that, you see, second to Zim.
It's always good to be near the top of the charts.
So I think ultimately I just think it's been a slow news week. That's why they focused on it. And also I think, perhaps if they are doing something right there and the ANC is behind it, then it probably shows that the ANC is probably scared. But again, because of the fact that we don't have much evidence on it, it's very hard to say that the ANC is behind it and why they're only choosing to do the protest now or whatever. But again, I heard that even the protests themselves, I just saw this in passing. It looked like that the mobs weren't even that big. It was just like a small group of people that were involved in this and they managed to attract a lot of news attention. So then I'm thinking, maybe it was, maybe the ANC was behind it and maybe they wanted to attract the media to it, probably get a distraction or something. But anyway, it's just an interesting thing. But if you want to go stay there, Chris, you can go stay there. I know people who stay there. they'll take care of you.
Well, I used to transit the R21 quite a bit, but then over a
Right.
decade ago when they started throwing cinder blocks off of overpasses and
Yeah.
disabling vehicles and then raping the men and women and robbing them that they pulled over, I don't travel the R21 much anymore. It's usually on the other side. Yeah, but I remember that. You know, it's some crazy stuff is happening in South Africa. I mean, people don't even remember this. I tell South Africans about this, but 15 or 16 years ago, whenever it was, the trains, the running up, bringing workers up between, you know, the different parts in Gauteng there was a gang of people going on the trains, just throwing people off the train to their death and disabling people. Yeah, a lot of South Africans don't even know about this. There were dozens of people who were injured and several who were killed by being thrown off the train. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. And it went on for weeks before it was finally addressed by law enforcement. Some crazy stuff happens in South Africa. Of course, you know, crazy stuff happens here in America, you know. But the point is, it's just, that's something else. You know, the Tembisa thing, Dumo, I agree with you 100% on this service delivery thing. And look, I'm not going to claim, you know, anything nefarious, but I'm not a supporter or a detractor from the Democratic Alliance. I think I report on them objectively, even though I'm kind of bumhurt that I can't get through to their leader. But anyway, but the rest of the party is pretty flexible. But I will say this, you know, we've never heard of any service protest deliveries anywhere in Ekurhuleni spread around in the media like this in recent history. And it does seem suspicious now that the Democratic Alliance and a minority coalition has been ruling Ekurhuleni briefly, that suddenly this goes up. And also the argument was all nonsense too. So the mayor didn't show up. She promised to come to the meeting. Well, I interviewed Kobus Hoffman from the Freedom Plus. He's a member of the provincial legislature for public safety and was there at the meeting on Monday when Tanya Campbell met with these folks. And we talked about this. And I said, the problem I have with this is that I don't know, did she promise or not? And that really isn't germane to me. If the mayor didn't come to the meeting, that doesn't justify torching substations and, you know, looting and burning and this sort of nonsense. That's lawlessness. If you're angry at the mayor, then go stand in front of her office and chant with posters and signs and get media attention there. And it's really just ridiculous. And by the way, she didn't show up on Friday. This happened at 4 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning. That is not happenstance. That is not coincidental. That is not spontaneous. That is intentional. And then the SABC, and I'll stop here in a second. We'll switch over to Koketso. But the SABC, I just laugh. I played the clip. They go to the reporter. It's just like you know, Kenosha, Wisconsin. I'm standing here in front of a mostly peaceful protest, you know, as the car dealership's on fire behind him. Remember that? So the journalist's like, yes, and this was a spontaneous event in which there are no leaders, and what? There was a young lady who was an independent journalist. You know, I'm in Pennsylvania, and I figured this out before I gave an analysis like SABC did. And I did my analysis at the same, just, you know, actually before they did, because that clip came after that. So they're so lazy that they don't even go talk to people. They just go where the police are standing at, and that's where they do the report. The young lady went to the place where I talked about that footage near the hospital, and she says, I'm here with so-and-so. She purports to be one of the leaders of the organizers of this event. And she talked to her and interviewed her. And she said, this is insanity. The press is so useless and lazy. They're unbelievable. And you have to wonder if it's just incompetence, but malfeasance at some point. And I think in this case, there's malfeasance going on with the reporting in Tembisa. Koketso, any thoughts on any of that rather long diatribe?
Yeah, look, firstly, I think you're right in that we shouldn't trust much of the reporting that's actually coming out of there, especially with out of nowhere protests like this. In the DA's defense, I will kind of lean towards what they're saying, that this could very well be organized, because this is exactly what happened in city of Tshwane, by the way. Remember the hot issue about water in Hammanskraal, which has never been okay. You know, go back to 1998 even. The water in Hammanskraal has never been okay. And then suddenly when the DA was in charge of the municipality there, people are now coming out and saying that, right, this DA administration is perfectly okay with people drinking bad water. Heck, there's even a saying, there's even like a colloquial saying that, you know, when you've got browned teeth, people would say that you've got Hammanskraal teeth. That's how bad the water there has been, that there's even that saying. And no one batted an eye over it, but wait until the DA's in town. So it could be a very similar thing that's happening here, is that you get a lot of unhappy people in Tembisa, and then once the DA is in town, suddenly there's protest action, and now, of course, blaming the mayor. So, none of that reporting is actually going to reflect what was the real cause behind this. And in the absence of solid evidence, I'm inclined to believe the powers that be that this could very well be orchestrated, because we know that the ANC doesn't like to lose. But just on that on that note, though, I still think Tembisa is pretty okay. Yeah, it hasn't gone up in flames or anything. I used the R21 to come to this office that I'm in this morning. I'm going to use it as soon as this call is done to go back home as well. So
look at Koketso trying to calm the situation down. The R21 person. I drink the water. It has no effect on me.
So I mean, I say this because to some people it may look like Tembisa's on fire, etc., etc. But yeah, it's really not. I think things have been calm since around Monday afternoon or so. So yeah, a lot of it is basically overhyped because the news cycle will try to stretch this as long as they can, so we can focus on that instead of instead of, as you can guess, the failures of the current administration, i.e. the president, etc.
Yeah. In the chat, I just noticed Charles van Onselen ask, what does Kenako means? It's time. It's time. It was famously one of the slogans for the 2010 corrupt Danny Jordan stolen FIFA World Cup in South Africa. That was one of the themes was Kenako. By the way, even though it was a criminal activity, it was pretty well organized and a great thing to go to. I went to games in Royal Bafokeng where I watched USA lose to Ghana. Damn it. And I watched Denmark beat Cameroon at Loftus Versfeld. Unfortunately, some jackass had a vuvuzela behind me and I was under the overhang. And so everything reverberated and the back of my shirt was covered in spittle because the entire game... I hate vuvuzelas. Other than the Oh My God variant, it's the worst export ever from South Africa. Vuvuzelas. Maybe it's worse than the Oh My God variant because you recover from that. I don't know if I've recovered from the trauma of that experience at Loftus Versfeld. It still bewitches me to this day. Oh my goodness!
It's the South African touch. You don't get it anyway.
I think I'll pass that. Give me some biltong and some pop. I'll be better, okay? Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you. Look, this is why we have this conversation because, people are running around like they're chickens with their head cut off about Tembisa. Oh, my God, the country's imploding. And I put a cheeky headline about that. But my point about South Africa imploding is not Tembisa. It's about the lack of governance and the lawlessness that's allowed to occur. It's also the culture of lawlessness that seems to be becoming more prevalent in far too many locations in South Africa. It's really sad. The government isn't resourced because they've stolen all the money. They haven't applied it properly. And law enforcement can't do its job or won't do its job in some cases. And you've also got situations where what's the point of the criminal justice system? I mean, whoever gets prosecuted except, small fry. The real criminals, there's no deterrence to criminality in South Africa whatsoever. I mean, the ANC actually at its policy conference this week, Nolu, debated whether to rid themselves of the step-aside policy. So, for those not familiar with the step-aside policy, in the ANC, if you've been criminally charged, you're supposed to, suspend your role in government and not participate while the case is resolved. It actually goes a little further than that. Supposedly it's if you're accused to, but we're not getting into semantics. But the point is that basically, if you're an accused or a charged criminal or suspected criminal, you can't serve in government. It's not an unreasonable rule. I mean, it's especially since most of them really are criminals. If only they'd be convicted. But they actually debated that this week, Nolo, and then Cyril Ramaphosa at the ANC. The ANC is back. We have problems, but we're back and we're on the right track. I'm like, this is dead man walking. That guy is so disconnected from reality. I think he and Joe Biden need a room together. They're so confused, Nolo. What do you think?
Yeah, they're the same WhatsApp group as we'd say in South Africa. So, but yes, before I actually get there, I just hope the DA has a strategy for this, because it's something which the ANC excels in, and that is to rally people and to burn infrastructure. And they know that, for instance, if you remember the Marikana saga, it was, they say, Ramaphosa was in charge of calling the police to actually shoot people. But guess what? As a country, you're so good in forgetting the sins of ANC. So now the DA gets to be in this tight corner where they can't necessarily act whenever people, they destroy infrastructure. I know this from Cape Town. That is why I moved to Phala. So people actually, they find that they're entitled to do this thing. So my point is that I just hope the DA has a strategy. And that strategy, I want them to be fierce about it. If the ANC did it, why not do it? I'm not saying to kill people, but you need to have more enforcement, There's something that people will actually be scared about, or else they will govern greatly, actually, but then find that the infrastructure, they just keep burning it down. And as much as it affects the people who are actually doing that, but it's really just something that is not good. And then coming back to to Ramaphosa, no, Ramaphosa just needs to step down. That guy is living in A different world. I actually find it quite funny and such an amusement when I find people defending Ramaphosa on Twitter. I'm sitting there thinking, Sissy, where do you stay? Like, even you at your job, try not to be productive for a week and you'll actually get a letter. They will start to see that, you know what, you don't deserve this pay. You need to be there on time. You need to be productive, and you need to also be obedient to the laws. So therefore, you need to serve. All the three of us here, as young as we are serving people, and we are scared to actually not doing what we are supposed to do, because it's going to be a bad actually rep for you, because you still have a future, you have a career that you're looking forward to. How does Ramaphosa not get that? As someone who's a billionaire, how is it so difficult? Because he has done nothing and people still cheer him on. And that is what makes it difficult to, I'd say, to really have a great debate about South Africa, because there's a fraction of people who believe Ramaphosa is innocent simply because he is what I call, maybe he's a snob who got things easy. I don't get it. I really do not get it.
It's because he can greet in all 11 languages. That's why.
Oh, that's true. He does do that. Wow, I want to see him learn sign language now that's going to be the 12th official language. Let's see him do that. It'll be like the Mandela funeral, you know. That was such an international embarrassment. Do they think people didn't see that? That just shows you how stupid and inept the ANC is. I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest embarrassments ever. But listen, Nolu, that was so. She's laughing. She's got on mute, so we don't hear her laughing. But that was so South African. Cece, where do you stay? That was so South African, 100%. That was awesome. Well, we got a super chat came in from Lynn. Thank you, Lynn's very generous of you to send a super chat in. So Dumo, so Ramaphosa, brother, what can I say? I don't know what to say. Listen to Nolan, man, it's great. Anyway,
yeah, look, Ramaphosa, he's not. I just think, in my opinion, you know, he was, you know, when he was pushed as he'll be this big leader that's going to change everything. I remember back in 2018
with the business acumen, he's a leader.
Exactly. And I remember we had a show back then. It was, and we had a guest who said, "Guys, this guy's the same. He's a communist. He's from the what is this, the unions and whatever.
Yeah, the trade unions. He's a trade union.
The trade union.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
That's how he cut his bones. That's how he became known. He was the lead negotiator at the for the ANC at the COSATU, the Congress, not COSATU, excuse me, the CODESA, the Convention for the Democratic South Africa. That's
Right.
where he cut his bones at. And of course, you know, the racist right wing actually made things worse by trying to attack the convention center, and you know, and so that is another reason why he became famous. But yeah, and let me start off for a second here. But you know, when Ramaphosa hit, I told people, I said, do you not realize this guy's a deputy president? He's been there for 5-6 years. He's also on the board of, was it Implats or whatever, that, you know, was responsible for Marikana. Now, look, I have no empathy for the miners at Marikana, and if that hurts their feelings, too bad. It was an illegal strike. In South Africa, you have to have a permit to strike. I mean, that's just the way it works. I don't like that, but that's the way it is. So it was an illegal strike. They threatened the police. The police were poorly trained. They poorly reacted. There's definitely culpability, but they are the own architects of their own demise. Had they not illegally been protesting, had they not been toying and advancing towards the police, they never would have been shot. They would have been. So anyway, but so he's the architect
with
behind
weapons.
That. Yeah, exactly, with weapons. Yeah. Well, just like the EFF at Brockenfell on the 20th of November, 2020. Pongas, knob carries. I mean, who has knob carries in the Western Cape? That's a Zulu thing, man. Knob carries, pongas, and golf clubs. They're running around with golf clubs. And then when the police, like cockroaches and rats, oh, well, that's racist. Give me a break. Anyway, when they sprayed them with the water cannons, the one working water can the cops had, they ran like rats. And then what do? They go and trash a car dealership and destroy hundreds of thousands of rand worth of cars with golf clubs just because they could. But anyway, I'm getting off the track there, Dumo. Let me let you get back in here before I go too far down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a interesting rabbit hole that you went down there. I think going back to Ramaphosa, I think just looking at how he was the leader and everything. Look, I mean, he's weak. He's not that great. I mean, if you saw what happened also during the how can I put it, during the spicy cough pandemic with all the lockdowns that he put in place and the destruction to the economy that this thing brought. And, you know, I remember that one time when he was saying, look at this hospital, you know, we did a lockdown and now the hospital is empty. We are so happy. And I'm like, man, What is a hospital there for?
For patients, for care.
Exactly. It's going to be full. What do you expect? I mean, an empty hospital, I mean, it's a closed one or one that's not functioning properly. But, it got to that point, and people must not forget, many people don't have jobs today because of him.
Yeah.
He was the one.
3 million jobs lost because of their stupidity.
Exactly. 3 million jobs.
And how many lives did they save? That's a counterfactual, but they can't prove they saved any lives. They made things worse.
Exactly. And this didn't even happen under Zuma. The reality is this. If you look at South Africa right now, Ramaphosa is probably South Africa's worst ever president. Ever. Right? From 94. Let me just say from 94, because if I say ever, the people are going to be like, oh, okay, so they're going to say that.
Well, I would pretty soon I'm going to be able to make this comparison. I'm going to say that as a post-independence era leader of a country in Africa, he is vying. I'm not talking about dictators like Mengistu and people like that, and murderers and such. I'm talking about people who try to rule legitimately, semi-legitimately. People like Julius Nyerere, who's well remembered because he changed path. But people like that and Mugabe and all these others, he is potentially among the worst presidents or leaders of a country in the post-independence era. It's unbelievable what South Africa's imploding. And so on that topic, Ramaphosa, not only with the cough, but when the insurrection happened last year, remember what he was doing on July 9th, July 10th, July 11th? He didn't even address what was happening. The Mui River Plaza up in flames, cargo broken into in Durban, neighborhoods attacked, cities in flames, hundreds of people being killed, stores looted, and he's, and you must wear your mask. You must wear your mask. We will not be lifted. This is what his focus was when the country's on fire. Wear your mask. Shut up, you doofus. Shut up. Take advice from Beckett Silly. Shut up, young man. Shut up. I'm not a Ghana boy. You see me as a Ghana boy. Shut up. Anyway, so Koketso, we can go longer, guys, because Ronaldo's got load shedding, so I'm not disappearing at the top of the hour. But Koketso, you want to get on in this Ramaphosa fest here? You got anything to say about this?
Look,
and you can't impersonate me. I do the best Beckett Chile.
And you do.
The accent. Yeah, I think the worst thing that Ramaphosa does for me is this crisis after crisis, and the best he ever does is come after the fact with a full camera crew and a bunch of his cronies, that is, his underlings. He is their boss after all, a couple of ministers here and there. He comes after the fact and does this grand tour. And that's supposed to be his version of, I'm addressing the situation. Now, and I've said this even about some political parties where you get someone like me who will easily say that, look, I don't actually need someone to knock at my door for me to believe in them, to believe in their message, to see them doing something. And that, unfortunately, is what the ANC at large thinks about Black people. They're always going after, the people who want to see something being done. So the worst thing that Ramaphosa does for me is when things happen, he comes after the fact to do a walking tour, give a couple of speeches there so he can be seen on the ground. But this happens, with the July riots last year. This is after someone's lost their business, after someone's lost their job. We saw with the kids who were killed at a tavern. He rocks up at the memorial service and even takes a nap, but that's beside the point. But again, after kids have died, he always comes after the fact to give this grand illusion of, no, we're doing something about it. But tell that to the people who've lost their job, who've lost a loved one, who've lost their business, etc., etc. That for me is easily why someone can say to me that he's been the worst president out there, because of all the passive presidents we've had in the past. I think he takes the cake with this respect. He really does take the cake when it comes to being passive. And at the end of the day, he's going to pay for it come 2024, I believe.
He's probably going to pay for it in 2022 in December at the party Congress, the way things are going. He may be unseated. It may be like another Polokwane massacre, although this won't be a massacre of Thabo Mbeki being pushed aside. By the way, that's not an endorsement of Thabo Mbeki. I think he's a small-minded person who has real racial issues, but he was much more effective as a technocrat than what we got now. Koketso, you mentioned that, but here's the thing. The ANC always has a go-to plan. Whenever their failures are apparent on the stage for everyone to see, they have a go-to topic. Gender-based violence, gender-based violence. and they pull that out and they start their nonsense about gender-based violence. But all the effort the ANC talks about gender-based violence, what have they ever done about it? What have they done at changing the culture in South Africa? What have they done about prosecuting people? Now they're rounding up the usual suspects. They've rounded up 121 foreign criminal alien invaders, apparently. I don't know that any of them are legitimate in South Africa, who are illegal miners, zamazamas and such. And not one of them actually was involved in the rape of those music video models in Krugersdorp. So, what have they done about, the brutal slaying of Nene, and I always butcher her last name, so my apologies. Nene Mrwetyana there at UCT, the student who was... the student who was came to pick her package up, and the guy beat her with a brick and murdered or raped her. What about the brutal slaying of Hannah Cornelius, gang rape for 12 hours, and her friend, her colored friend who was left for dead? What about, and I always get her first name wrong, Sifatso Pule, the 9-month pregnant woman whose boyfriend found her inconvenient and had her stabbed and hung from a tree. He was just convicted to a life sentence, by the way, so a degree of justice in that case. But what have they done about
years later?
Yeah, years later. But what have they done about gender-based violence? They do nothing about gender-based violence. But it's always what they pull out to distract you. Pay no attention to the fact that you just found out that we stole $3 billion in PPE money and gave it to a fictitious BE company over here. But hey, we're here about gender-based violence. It's really vomit-inducing. And Koketso, I'll give you a chance. And then now, gender is both ways. Men are also victims of gender-based violence. So I don't want people to presume that I'm going to turn to Nolu because she's a lady. But let's get Koketso to respond to that, and then we'll go to Nolu because she is a lady. So Koketso.
Yeah, there's a lot that's unspoken about how some of the perpetrators are actually those within senior ranks inside of the ruling party at a national level, even at a provincial level. Who's that guy who used to own Cubana at Four Ways? I think he still does. Something Manana.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a perpetrator. Whatever happened to him? He was actually a deputy minister in Zuma's cabinet, I believe. But nothing's ever happened to him. You've got a whole MEC out in Mpumalanga as well, who was basically facing charges for raping his daughters. His own daughters. What's the media saying about that? So some of these perpetrators are actually, those in the ruling party themselves. And I'm pretty sure you could make that inference that some of the perpetrators are those with connections to those in the ruling party as well. So for all they talk about gender-based violence, etc., right, they don't actually want to bring light to it because, lo and behold, if you do it long enough, if you shine that light long enough, it's going to point right back at the people who are using this as messaging to deflect off their own serious issues. And that's something that, again, they've got a litany of mainstream media who's helping them cover their tracks and helping drive the narrative by simply talking about something else. But there are those of us in society with very long memories, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. So Nolo, chance to pop in on this topic. What are your thoughts?
It's one of those topics, man, Chris, that just weigh down on me, simply because it's very sad and it just keeps on getting worse by day. People can try and make this campaign. They can say men are trash, all of that. It's not going to fix it, There is a hand that the government needs to play, but I think if we can start being people who can fix our problems at the communal level, I think maybe we might have a change. From now, we won't have anything that will change because our government is not for us. They're just against us, because if they wanted to fix this, they would have done something. I don't know, maybe in what length, but they would have done something at least. Showed the one who did it before that when you do it, we will be so harsh on you, So that's the problem. Yeah, I think it's one of those that just leave me speechless because really it's very sad. And the thing is, it really makes you so aware as a woman, wherever you go, you're thinking, ooh, I don't know if this guy is safe or not. But it is what it is. And I think if our communities really, as I said, Chris, can start to do something. Yeah, man, if, you know what? A couple of people get burned down in Kailicho and they do some brutal stuff. For me, it's very scary to watch, but I think we do need something like that. I don't know, seriously. As for the ANC, I'm tired of these guys because there's nothing they will do.
Take another.
As Koketso said, some of them that are just as bad as he has just explained right now. Can you imagine? And that person is still part of that political party. Shucks. So yeah, man. And Upegicele said at least one woman was raped, at least. As if it's a norm to actually. Did he say one or?
We were going to. One of the people in chat asked that question. I was going to bring that up in a second there, but yeah, that's.
He said that. he said you're lucky if you're a woman that's only been raped once, along those lines. I
Well,
think.
it's
Can you
not,
imagine?
not
Along those lines.
yeah, that's the gist of it. Not exactly. Look, I don't defend Bekele on anything, but I do think that this is being run by the press. Look, he's not particularly bright or articulate. We know that. So let's put that in context. So I saw the quote. I watched the video. What he said. He talked about, he was trying to make the point that one woman was raped by 10 men, another by 8 men, another by 6, another by 5, and this one woman was raped by just one. At least she was only raped by one guy. It was not a sensitive, it was an insensitive comment. It was stupid, it's inappropriate, but he's not very bright. So I'm not going to say it was malicious or he thinks it's okay for a woman to be raped, because that's what the narrative is running on. Bekele said it's okay for a woman to be raped. That's not what he was getting at. He's just stupid, and it came out wrong. And so if anyone wants, if the leftist hate wankers are looking for something to show me as a leftist progressive, there it is. I've just defended Bekele. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. Anyway. No, but I mean,
Yeah.
look, I'm about honesty and fairness here, and I mean, and it's being distorted. Dumo, what do you think? You think that statement's being distorted? Any thoughts on, or did you hear what he said?
Oh, I didn't hear it.
What's going on here? What's with all these South Africans? Articulate, educated, well-informed. You guys don't know jack about South Africa.
No,
You need to be productive, Chris.
Oh, okay.
the problem.
You're keeping the mills going. Somebody's got to keep the machine going. Go ahead, Dumo.
Exactly.
Yeah, we
Taxman
don't wear
is
these
coming.
suits for nothing.
Taxman is always coming.
Yeah, man. I mean, just taking from what you guys have been saying here, I do think that he was in a situation like that, because you know what Bekele likes to do. He likes to, whenever there's a tragedy of this nature, he'll rock up there, and then he'll try to appease the crowd and everything like that and so forth, and then hoping that there's no Ian Camerons that come along. But what he does. So I think in that situation, given what you guys have said, he was trying to appease to people, but in his appeasement, he forgot that this is a very sensitive topic. And saying things like, well, getting raped by 10 men is worse than one, and stuff like that. Not saying that he's what he said there, but in that along that context, he probably wasn't saying the right thing, and he wasn't being bright in that moment. So I agree with you there. But again, this is going to happen okay, let me not say it's going to happen all the time, but another incident similar to this is going to happen in the future, right? And Bekele is going to rock up there. It's either he's going to cry like at the Tavern incident and so forth, and try to appease people. And that's all they're going to do. I remember in Soweto, when there was a mass shooting. Yes, now this is the classic one. So in Soweto, that Heidi lady from, it wasn't Heidi. Okay, let me not, it was someone from ENCA, I think. I don't know why I think it was Heidi. I don't know why. But anyway, it was
Dumo and Heidi.
So, all right, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole and find out what's in Dumo's mind. So let's just keep talking.
So what happened was, they spoke to one of the guys that were there that saw the mass shooting, and he's like, "We need to get guns and everything. We need to protect ourselves." And they said, "No, but the minister said he's going to deploy more police and everything." And then he's like, "Listen. He's going to deploy police here. They're only here for show. They're just going to march. And after 2 hours, they'll be gone and you won't see them again. And then those guys are going to come back and they're going to try to shoot us anyway." So, and I think that's the reality of it, is that it's all for show now. Being in government is all about, it's like you there, bad things happen, then you must just go there, make a speech and go home and then sleep. And you get to travel the country while you're doing it as well. Sounds like a rock concert, man. It sounds like you go on tour.
It sounds like the Colonel's tour of South Africa. You rock up, he has accommodation, people come meet you. It's it's a good gig if you can get it. Mine's not being funded by the ANC, I should point that out, or the Oppenheimer Foundation.
But that's the problem. That's the problem. It's just become a gig. That's what it is.
Yeah, a couple great lines there. One is that you're hoping that Ian Cameron doesn't show up, or any Ian Cameron doesn't show up. That's a good line. And it's just becoming, it is. It's what it is. It's the same with Ramaphosa. Remember last year, Ramaphosa goes down to KwaZulu-Natal a week after the place is imploded, and he shows up at a destroyed mall, and he gets a shovel, and he can't even lift the ashes and put it in the wheelie bin properly, and and of course he rocks up in an 8-car 8 Series BMW convoy steps out like a conquering hero when people's jobs and homes and lives have just been ended, and it's all about a photo op. These people are, look, and by the way, we're not just picking on South Africa. Turn your attention to Washington, D.C. Turn your attention to London, to Paris. These clowns are all the same. The world is so wrong, so upside down now. You know, I'm not going to get myself in trouble with the poo tube here, but when the spicy cough came out of a certain place, those people have never been punished for their inaction or if they did it intentionally, whichever the case is. They have gotten away with the reordering of the world in a Marxist communist fashion everywhere. The United Kingdom this week, a 51-year-old veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, a retired soldier, was arrested. They went to his house on a Sunday to make a show with a half a dozen cops to arrest him. They came to his house earlier and told him that, someone made a complaint about something he put on Twitter. And so he has to come to the police station. He said, well, I want to consult my attorney. So they left. They came back with multiple police cars, half a dozen cops. They took him outside, cuffed him so people could see it. Then they stood on the street corner so his neighbors could see he was being arrested for something, like it was a pedophile or something like that. And this is all because someone was made anxious because he took that meme in which someone cleverly took the LGBT flag, the rainbow flag, and put it in a swastika. I don't know if you saw that meme was going around. So he was arrested because someone had anxiety because he retweeted something that was on Twitter. This isn't governance. This is brown shirt Nazism, fascist, SS. This is Ernst Röhm in the middle of this Kristallnacht. These people, this is insane. The whole world is being reordered around us and people don't see it. How can this happen, particularly in the Anglo-Saxon world? Look, nothing against African heritage, but the Anglo-Saxon world is the world that brought the modern order of jurisprudence and law and order to the world. And Australia puts people in concentration camps because somebody in their office building tested positive for the spicy cough, losing their job, locked up, threatening to be put in prison for 5 years if they step off a porch in a remote Northern Territories concentration camp. This is insane. And people are just missing it completely. Koketso. Bring me back down, brother. What do you got to say?
Plot twist. I don't want you to come back down.
Oh, you want me to keep going? Yeah. No, but seriously, come on, guys. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is insane. And I think, I was with Joe Emilio. I was on Joe Emilio's show a few weeks ago with Rob Hutchison, where I actually mentioned that.
It's important to mention we don't endorse Joe Emilio's channel. Dodgy Joe is P&G at this channel. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry, Koketso.
Hey, Joe's good people, right?
He is. We're just having fun.
Yeah, my last trip to Cape Town, he made it extra worth my while. But, wow.
Oh no! I was assuming you got like extra biltong or something,
Right?
Or you got.
He was in Cape Town. He didn't come to Phala. He was in Cape Town.
No, but Nolu, I'm coming to Phala. See, I know where the good people are. I'm coming.
We're gonna go. Of course.
Meet and greet in Phala.
Okay, I promise to come to Phala on my next trip to Cape Town.
Okay, now that we've
derailed Koketso. Okay, I don't want to promise because promises can be broken, so I guarantee it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, we'll keep him on that one.
You heard it here, folks. It's exclusive. On Nako exclusive.
Hey.
Look at Dumo. He's making a face there. Is he reading text or is he listening to this?
Dumo, when are you traveling? Dumo doesn't want to travel. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Oh, you let the cat out of the bag.
I'll travel at the right time, guys. The right time.
So Dumo,
I want to go to Cape Town.
You can be like Paladin, man. Have gun, will travel.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I even saying? Yeah, I was saying that. So like I mentioned on Joe's show, the very same people who were actually advocating for much of this nonsense are suspiciously nowhere to be seen nowadays. They are pipsqueak quiet. They're like nowhere to be seen. They're very quiet. They don't say anything. They're not out policing people on social media. Some of them still claim to be disinformation experts in their social media bios, etc. But they say nothing. So it's one thing to really push people to it's one thing to really ask for society to turn into a tyrannical authoritarian state, but it's another thing when you can't even follow through on it. And worst of all, it's another thing when you can't even bring yourself to apologize for all the nonsense you put people through. There were people actively saying that, look, if you don't want to follow the mandate, etc., then you deserve to lose your job. Effectively saying that if you're a breadwinner, I condemn you and your family to a life of poverty and hunger. That's exactly what they were saying. But nowadays they are nowhere to be seen. And I'm noting the silence. And the day they come out of their hole, I'll be there waiting to remind them of all the things they said to not just me, but many other people who weren't as fortunate as me to make it out of this pretty much in one piece and intact with your income stable and all of that. Lots of people didn't have that chance. But yeah, those people, they're suspiciously quiet right now, and I have no sympathy for them. And like I've mentioned before, they can fetch their forgiveness from God, because it's not coming from me.
No, absolutely. That's well stated. When the Trumpster, Orange Man Bad, was president, and he took all the safety measures off to allow the rapid development of a vax, in 7 months, which is unprecedented. It's never been done for anything. Anyway, he took it all off because it was supposed to be an unprecedented event. In August of 2020, roll back the clock and look at the tweets, watch the footage. All of these progressive, oh, I'm not taking that. He's got money. He's making money. It's poison. It's unsafe. And then the Manchurian Cadaver becomes president on January 21st. And 2 weeks later, if you're not an advocate for the jab, then you're wrong and you must be canceled. Isn't it funny what frauds these people are? Absolutely hilarious. Now, speaking along fraudulent lines, let's take it away from South Africa for a moment and get you guys' thoughts on this. I don't know if you saw this, and I thought it was a deep fake, and not a very good one, but it turns out it was real. Jacinda Ardern, Mr. Ed, the famous talking horse, Mr. Ed. I'm Jacinda Ardern. Anyway, the Prime Minister of New Zealand with a minority government, she came out and said, if it doesn't come from us, from the government, it isn't trustworthy. So everything else is just a lie. Don't listen to that. Go to our website. Only the truth can be found there. I'm sorry. So you're dismissing the entire scientific community on the planet, every social scientist, every professor, every lawyer, every doctor. None of them matter. Only the bureaucrats from the tiny little New Zealand bureaucracy are the subject matter experts on this topic, and everything else must be dismissed. These people are insane. And you know what? The problem is, a lot of sheep believe it, man. A lot of sheep believe it. We had a festival here nearby for National Night Out. That's, to help. That's a gender-based violence sort of thing. It started, for women can feel safe. People come out, and law enforcement, fire department come there, and communities have. There was one here locally yesterday, and my neighbor had gone over, and he came back, and he said, "Did you go by the Democratic table?" I said, "No, I haven't been there yet." He said, "That guy over there, man, whoo, he told me, he said, all this stuff, everything the Republicans say is lies," and so he said, well, what has a Republican said that's a lie? Well, everything they say is a lie. Well, can you give me an instance? No, there's no lies. Oh, okay. I see we're dealing with rational people here. I mean, that's kind of what we're dealing with here. And it's the same in South Africa. Dumo, Jacinda Ardern, only she and her government should be trusted. What do you think about that? Is that where you're going to get your information from? I know I'm going straight to the New Zealand server. That's where I'm getting all my information. I want to know about indigo dyes. That's where I'm going to learn about it, New Zealand server.
Yeah, I think, honestly, this is... Jacinda Ardern is drunk on power. And I think that's the thing about people when they have power for too long. They start to rationalize it, and then they think that everyone's an idiot. It's almost like a drug addict, right? When a drug addict tries to rationalize why they need the drugs and stuff like that.
Nice, I got a sheep for New Zealand here. A little sheep.
And I think that's what's happening. I mean, I think that she's reached that point where I think people are starting to see through her nonsense. And then also at the same time, she's trying to demonize people that disagree with her. And that's another telling sign as well, is that that's the thing about power. Like, we'll just do anything to have it. Just, I don't know why human beings love it so much. Maybe it's how we evolved or whatever. But the reality is that that's where she is right now. And I think people are probably people in New Zealand probably looking at each other and saying, yeah, this... the lady's gone mad, Okay, there's another more crude saying, but I won't say it. But
okay.
they'll just
yeah. Let's not go there. We can try to keep it a G-rated show as much as possible.
you know how it goes. They're like, yeah, she's gone mad, and I think people are just whispering those things to each other, and eventually, she might even just just get voted out or something, and then she can have a nice descendancy or something. But yeah, she's lost it.
No, it's, I got to tell you guys, with all you guys in the panel today, I'm having lots of senior moments. The next topic I got up, I want to get into it, and then you guys have great points, and it escapes me. Then it comes back later on. This has been a tough panel today, just for me to keep it straight. But Nolu, are you familiar with Jacinda Ardern? Did you hear about this? Have you seen this video?
Yeah, I am. And I'm not saying, I don't want to say I'm glad. I'm glad that ladies can see that it's not just men who love power. When we get there, we can act as evil as we think men tend to be. I think for me, Chris, this whole thing, I think I'm glad because it made me understand that truly governments, they were all couldn't wait to be like the CCP government, and it really made my eyes to be open that, shoo, given a chance, every government would love to have that absolute power that Xi Jinping have. And it's something which, funny enough, they were the ones who critiqued Xi Jinping, but then they went the very same way because power just feels so good. And funny enough, the country is so close. This is China, of course, to actually just go down into a recession of some sort, but nobody's talking about that.
You can't
China
say that word in America. You can't say it. We call it resection now. We've renamed that word. It's banned. And
I don't know if you know what's his name again. I think it's Spielberg. Yeah, that's his surname. I've got his book here. He actually predicted this war that is going on in China, and people just kept saying China is this powerful place. But then nobody want to talk about what happens when the government such as China really takes charge, and what happens after the after effects of that. So for me, it was the worst time, and still is, after effect of the whole COVID thing. But at the same time, it revealed the truth. So those of us who decide to be ignorant and didn't want to see the telltale sign of what big government does, shucks, I feel sorry for you, because it really, everything was just right in front of us. And I think I would take note. And when another group of Marxists comes up, another young group of Marxists come up and lie to my kids, I'll be like, sit down, let me give you a history. You hear it from me. That idiot is lying, Yeah. And I can't wait to be that kind of mom, because snap, a lot of people have been lied to. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. There's 2 points here, Koketso, I want to bring up. Number one is that, a lot of people, let me go back, say 20 years ago, before the world completely lost its mind. We'll go back before 9/11, okay? When we were, not that the world was okay, but it was more rational in many respects. I would come across people in Africa and also in Europe, but mostly in Africa, and they kind of like, and a lot of the progressive Americans who weren't quite as crazy as they are today told me, well, we don't need a military, we don't need police. I'm like, yeah, you do. If you understand human nature, sadly, without rules and morals and values and deterrence, humans have a nature. Some humans, look, psychopaths don't come from nowhere. And you always have psychopaths out of every cohort. There's a small number of them. So you're always going to have people that misbehave. And if you have less rule, less order, less morality, then you have worse crime and greater injustices. And whether you like it or not, military for national security and national defense, and police for law enforcement and deterrence are necessary. The reason the U.S. military is so big is not so we can fight wars all over the world, although we're equipped to do that. It's to serve as a deterrent. We became this big to deter the Soviet Union from invading Central Europe, and it worked. It cost us a fortune, but it worked. Now, here's the other thing. So I'll give you a chance to comment on that, but I want to get this. I don't want to forget this. In America, our founding fathers realized the greatest threat to liberty wasn't a foreign power. It wasn't the King of England, George III. It wasn't the French. It wasn't, well, there was no Canada then, but it wasn't a foreign power. It was the government. The Federalist Papers were all about limiting the power of the government. This document, the United States Constitution, guarantees us rights that are unalienable because the government can't break them. The right to freedom of speech. The government has no ability. They cannot limit your speech. Now, obviously, dangerous speech, like fire in a crowded theater is not free speech, but your speech can't. Your right to assemble, your right to seek redress from the government on the 6th of January, 2021, that is guaranteed in the Constitution. The freedom of worship, that is guaranteed. These are rights that the government can't take away. People forget that. It seems like the world has become completely twisted around, thinking government grants us rights. The government deigns to give us these rights. No, we are Homo sapiens. We are a race of creatures on this planet endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I stole that from one of our documents. But anyway, your thoughts, Koketso.
Yeah, one of the things I love reading is occasionally I'll just pick up a book on American history, and one of the sentiments I've picked up is that, with the founding fathers, the thing about them is they were very acutely aware of the world that, well, not necessarily them, but the world their fathers and grandfathers had come from, what they left behind in Europe. And they quickly realized that, this is obviously at a time of kings and queens, etc. They quickly realized that too much power always ends up being bad, because all it takes is you're basically always at any point in history, you're always one madman away from complete chaos. You're always one madman away from basically becoming less than a person. So they were acutely aware of that, and that's why they actually went ahead and put in great effort to really define liberty and freedoms and everything, right up to the point of ensuring that the government never takes the role of what would have been a king, for example. That's been taken away right now from people who do want to be a king, people who want to not just control your movement, but right down to what your personal belief system should be. Right down to even some things which shouldn't be argued, like science, for instance. Control the science and you can control what is then deemed as fact. Control the media, control education and what kids are getting taught. We at a point now where and this is where people will say, oh, you just sound just like a Republican. But of course, they're even now trying to control what we eat. Picture that. You have people in power who are trying to literally dictate and regulate through law what you and I should eat. And we saw what exactly that does to a country like Sri Lanka. But that's where we are right now. And the only way we're going to actually allow them to win is if people aren't given that same level of education to understand, why does the Bill of Rights exist in the first place? Why was the American Declaration of Independence put there in the first place? What caused those words to be those words? They didn't just come together by chance, but there's very specific reasons why it came into be, and people aren't being educated about that. And of course, this goes right down to why they want to control what children are being taught. Instead of teaching children about the values of independence, etc., like they used to, they'd rather now focus on teaching kids that if you were born a boy, you should look to being a girl, and if you're born a girl, you should look to being a boy. Absolute nonsense, but that's the state that we are in right now. Their overreach is so grand that they are willing to say to parents that you have no right to raise your children in a manner that you see fit. We, the government and its elected officials, right down to its civilian staff, we will raise your children for you. We will impart values. We will basically teach your children how to be quote unquote good, upright, moral citizens, which by their definition, like I said last night on Joe's show, tends to be people with rainbow colored hair and a sex change of some sort down the line.
That's hard to follow that up. Lots of great comments there, Koketso, coming in from the chat. So, Dumo, when you have children, are you excited to have Ronnie Lamola, Becca Chile, Andrew Mocheka, Cyril Ramaphosa being their mentors, their leaders, their teachers? Is that the sort of folks you want to teach your kids?
No, not at all. Of course not.
You bigot! You're a racist. Wait a second. Okay, sorry. I was playing progressive. You're a racist.
He's a clever black.
He's a clever. Oh, that's right. He's a clever black. He's the black face of white supremacy in South Africa, like Larry Elder in Los Angeles.
It's funny how they define everything in terms of race.
It is. It's sad. Look, it has no currency. The word has no value anymore. There are real racists out there. There are people who think that the physical difference between people somehow makes one person better or worse than another, and they take action on it. That's the definition of racism. Kind of like broad-based black economic empowerment. It's systemically racist. But there are racists out there, and we should be aware of them. But the good news is the number is tiny on both sides of the spectrum. The problem is they have a lot of power, and that's the scary part. And when you cheapen the word racism, this is what happens. And that's what they've done, Dumo. I mean, it has no value. You call someone, especially South Africa, call someone a racist. I mean, it really doesn't mean anything because no one ever backs it up with any statement.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the major issues as well, is that I think eventually people are just going to get tired of this, like myself. They're just going to be like, you know what? Yes, racism does exist, but it's not the biggest problem. You know, there are bigger problems that we are facing. And I remember I was speaking to a good friend, Dumisumboa, he's from Cape Town as well. Nolu, you should meet this guy. And then what was very interesting was that on the show when we were discussing, he's like, yeah, you know what? Racism did do some stuff. But I mean, today it's like, yeah, you will see these racists, but yeah, whatever, man. They're not really trying to make my life the worst. Like, for example, you would see like a typical white racist, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can't write any law that's going to discriminate against me.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is that there is someone who says that they're not a racist, puts BEE in place, and is so bad at service delivery anyway that it makes your life hell anyway. That's the bigger problem, you know. So it's like that. So I just think, in my opinion, you know, yeah, racism is just lost. I just think people realize that even the lefties know that it's lost its currency, and they know that they only use it as a means to shame people that don't dance to their beats or dance to their tune. But yeah, that's how I think. Yeah.
Well, Dumo, I just quite frankly, I got to be honest right here today and let you know, I just think you're transphobic. That's the bottom line. Where does that come from? Listen, you know, in the gay community, I know a few people who openly in that community, and you know, and I warned people years ago. I said, listen, when this attraction to promoting trans issues started to gain currency a few years ago, I said, hey, you wait, you're going to be yesterday's news. No one's going to talk about gay issues and lesbians. That you're going to be like yesterday's fish thrown out in the bin, and you're not. And that's a lot of people in the gay community are like, wait a second, all the oxygen in the room is being sucked up by 1/10 of 1% of the people, and it's probably not even that many people that are affected by this issue. Legitimately, gender dysphoria is a real situation, and I'm not trying to diminish that, but there's an awful lot of nonsense going on when it comes to trans too. It's even more of that than the actual cases. But the point is that all the oxygen's gone. No one's talking about gay issues. No one's talking about lesbian issues. And the poor bisexuals, they're really left behind. No one even knows they exist anymore. So it's all about trans. Nola, you're shaking your head, but I mean, am I right? I mean, everything is trans 24/7.
I don't know. You know, that's one community I can't keep up with. I was asking the other day.
Well, you should go to school performances for children. Then you'll be able to keep up with it. We have drag queens at all of them.
I was asking, what is a trans? What is a pansexual? I can't seem to get really an understanding, because bisexual,
pansexuals are people who cook a lot. They use the griddle, the pan.
Seriously, I don't know what is going on there. And the funny thing, it has just become so fashionable. And I must say, TikTok made it to be even more worse. You know, it's one. I know all social media is quite influential, but TikTok is dangerous, especially for young children. And I find it quite shocking that parents would leave their kids on the phone and to be there, because wow, if you could just go and it's not even in America, just in South Africa, the dominant people, especially even brands nowadays, I find it so infuriating, because they would take a man who's trying to be a girl or plays that to be a mom, right, and then they would pay him with a campaign that is meant for a mother, because that person narrates this motherly role much better. And I'm thinking, why aren't women standing up for this? Because that means a woman or a girl who's supposed to play that role, get that gig, get that money, she's not getting that money. But those are things that we don't want to talk about, because we don't want to offend. My thing is this: it's quite surprising that this group loves the attention. Everything must be about them. I mean, everything, you know. It's so crazy. But what I also think that brands and businesses, they also just give more power to them. Yeah. They worship them for God knows what reason. So much that is why it's always in our faces every day. Other than that, we wouldn't care. People would just go on with their lives. I mean, it's not a new thing. Once upon a time, Cape Town was known as the capital city for gays and lesbians, by the way. We even had clubs before Johannesburg. I had two lecturers, you know, who were gay, you know, and at that time it was still taboo to talk about it. I just didn't even know. Nobody cared after that. And at that time, funny enough, his name was Chris. I'm not saying anything, Chris. Chris was never... Chris, he was a man. He didn't say, no, don't say I'm a man. He was a man, and he was okay being a man, you know. Just that he just didn't date women. So nowadays it's difficult to keep up, Chris. I'm telling you.
It is absolutely crazy. I mean, we saw Tom Hanks interviewed, and he said that, the movie Philadelphia, in which he played a gay lawyer who contracted HIV and wound up with AIDS and died back in the early 1990s. And he was asked about whether he could play that role today. And he basically said that, no, I couldn't play that role. Only a gay person can play that role. I'm like, excuse me? Wait. It's called acting, moron. It's called acting. And, so why can't straight actors play gay actors? Because so many gay actors play straight actors. Doogie Howser turns out is gay, but he played, womanizing, reprobate on, How I Met Your Mother for years until people found out I was gay. And then they stopped watching the show because he wasn't believable anymore. But he was believable up till then because he's a heck of an actor. I mean, what's his name? The guy who plays Sherlock, isn't he gay too? But he plays a straight character. So, this is ridiculous. But I mean, you're right about TikTok. Crazy stuff shows up in TikTok. I came across this on TikTok. It's unbelievable. Well, hang on a second. Oh, hang on. I got to do this again. Sorry. It's connected to my earpiece. It was the Bluetooth. So let me go back to it. Yeah, because I was taking a call earlier. Yeah, but I mean, absolutely crazy. This is on TikTok. I don't know who did this. Anyway, so there's the picture. I don't know if you guys know who that was. You see that? There's crazy stuff on TikTok. I don't know who that was. That wig threw me off. Anyway.
Funny thing, Chris, is that the funny thing is, I'm a 2000, as they call him here, meaning is it Gen Z in your side? They all, even if the guy's straight, they all want to put on a weave when they're doing comedy on TikTok. I'm like, why? Or a lipstick. Why? Even if they're playing, the guy will always have a weave. I'm like, yeah, that's just boring, and it's overreaching. I just think it's
I tell you what, I don't envy women. I couldn't sit for 6 hours to get my hair twisted. That just ain't gonna happen. I don't have that kind of patience. I mean, I'd be like 6 minutes. Okay, get the clippers out. We're done here. It's enough for me. So Koketso, your chance to talk on this topic. I pretty much probably know where you're coming from on this one. Well, I think we got on the trans topic here. I mean, it's all trans all the time, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Look, I think, I grew up being warned against vanity, and that's translated into other things, and I've carried it with me into my adult life. But yeah, I was warned about, do not be a person full of vain. And a lot of this trans stuff, for me, I just see vanity. I just see excess vanity, and it's as simple as that. And maybe this is what all those warnings were about. Because when you become that person, all that matters is the attention. You easily become addicted to social media. You're more concerned about the likes and the followers, etc., etc. But what's particularly damning is that this is affecting the youth more than anyone. It's creating a generation of lazy, unemployable people who, when life slaps them across the face at some point soon, they're not going to be able to be productive members of society. And that's when it's really going to be quite tragic, because again, even as their parents get older and start going into retirement, etc., we're in a country where those who are retired still receive some form of welfare from the state. But who funds all of that? All of that is dependent on the requisite taxes from a working populace. But if we're breeding a youth that is unable to actually pick up a shovel tomorrow or sit behind a desk tomorrow, then the whole system's going to come crashing down. It's very similar to how a lot of kids now, the very thought of them waking up in the morning and going to work and sitting behind a desk and getting some work done and sitting in a meeting and getting your ass chewed off by a boss who's 20 years your senior, who's basically telling you don't know what you're doing. The very thought of that is scary for these kids, and hence a lot of them look towards being forex traders, etc., etc. They trade currency or Bitcoin, whatever's the cool thing now. They're looking at that as their way out. Why? Because they are actually an unemployable people. You cannot rely on them to sit behind a desk for a few hours a day and be productive. And that's going to come crashing down over time. And what that's going to do also is create a very classist society where you're going to have someone who's basically 35 years old with 15 years of work experience, who's, you know, is very in demand and doesn't struggle to get a job, etc. And then you get another 35-year-old who does not have 15, 10, or even 5 years worth of work experience, who's really struggling to, you know, to get their foot in the door when they get to that point in their life where they realize that, you know what, I actually need to settle down a bit, you know, get some stable income. The girl I like, I want to marry her, but, you know, for me to marry her, I kind of have to, you know, stop being a bum. I have to pull up my pants a little bit, you know, stop dyeing my hair blue, all of that stuff. You know, it's going to create two classes of people. And what that then does is, it's going to create a society that basically has two sides of people ostracizing each other. And it's going to turn into a social war. We haven't had one yet, but this is really just the start. It starts off with, oh no, let me express myself, to, oh no, you know, I should get additional rights for identifying as a certain thing. You should actually start calling me by preferred pronouns, all of that nonsense. This is all the beginning of it, but let it go on for a few more years and you're going to end up with people who bring absolutely no value to society. And according to the conspiracy theorists, even aliens will come to Earth, see the mess that it has become and say, nope, you guys aren't worth it to be going back.
We're out of here. Yeah, the Alpha Centaurians will come over from light years away and they'll get here and go, no, I think we'll just go to Mercury and skip right by this place. Yeah, no, I think we're just talking about is soft people who haven't had their identity formed in the crucible of challenges and achievement as youth, and things have just been handed to them. In many respects, I think it's a consequence of affluence in many parts of the world. Progressives tend to be people of affluence or ease of life, and they've never struggled or dealt with anything, and they think that, you know, either have this sort of guilt for it or they think that they have the answer to the world, and they're actually really soft people. But just for clarity's sake, I go by the name Z. My pronoun is frog, and I just want everyone to know that it's really important that you should know my pronoun is frog. So you can use it in a sentence like this: Z, frog, this. Okay, so there you go. If that made any sense to you, then you're really as dumb as a box of rocks, because none of the rest of us got that sentence, because it didn't have a subject. Well, I guess it had a subject, but didn't have a verb. Anyway, so there you go. All right, but
and we shouldn't dare misgender you.
Oh no, don't do that, because that's a lawsuit, and you've caused me anxiety, and I'll call the British police on you, and you'll be arrested, despite the fact that you defended this country and, you know, in 2 wars and put your life on the line. Who cares what you are? You're just a piece of slime because you hurt my feelings. That's the soft people we're talking about. But, you know, Koketso, let me go back a little bit and I'll come to Dumo on this. So is that I agree with you. It's kind of, I think we're hitting the wave cap is coming now. This is where the wave, just to begin the wave cap. But this really goes back to a number of factors, I think, that have been prevalent for the past, I would say 3-4 decades in the US, in Western Europe, and they found their way to South Africa as well. And that's this culture of entitlement. You owe me. I'm entitled. No, you're not. You're entitled to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You're entitled to breathe. You're entitled to eat. Now, you're not entitled to college education. You know, you don't pop out of the womb, oh, look, it's my professor and the university dorm. It was made for me. That doesn't work. Humans, communities have to build those things. People have to invest. They have to create. They have to discover. They have to invent. They have to think. They have to write. They have to communicate. They have to build. You know, it's like, you know, healthcare is a human right. No, it's not. It's not a human right. You don't pop out with a medical aid card. That doesn't work that way. Someone created that. You certainly have a right to use it and not be precluded from being a consumer of it, but it's not a human right. If it was a human right, you'd be born with a dialysis machine for when your kidneys fail because you drink too much Jabuku. Come on, man, give me a break. Anyway, but no, so culture of expectation, as you say, this attention seeking. So much of this is attention seeking, and it's addictive. You know, I saw this woman in her late 40s who has a nice body, but she's clearly in her late 40s, and she's acting like she's 19 years old. She does here, and she gets 16 million views on YouTube. Watch, this is what I look like with my bra and without my bra. Now, she didn't expose her boobs, but, you know, they're hanging inside the shirt. What do you think? Do you like the with bra or without bra? Prancing around, showing. I'm like, you're 48. Grow up. Grow up.
I'm sure majority of them were men.
No,
those
it was.
views.
No, that, oh, yeah. Oh, of course. Oh,
Those
yeah.
views.
Of
No,
course.
come on. That is free.
I mean, obviously, one of the views came from me, you know? Oh, no. Don't even try that, Dumo. That was in the interest of media reporting. I had to watch it to report on it. How can I comment on it if I didn't watch the full video?
Exactly.
I must say I was moved. I was moved in ways I never expected.
And that woman, if she was in South Africa, when she gets hit on or someone wants to rape her, she gets surprised.
Yeah,
she's dished
exactly.
it in front of them.
You know, but it's a culture of entitlement. This attention seeking, but that's addictive. You know, and I'll be honest here. I mean, not that I showed off my boobs or my bum, but when my channel, hey, look, I got a bum. Hey, we can argue that all day. I haven't got any boobs, but I got a bum. Anyway, and I don't wear a thong. I'm just saying. Anyway, but seriously. Well, I mean, wait, look, the guys are wearing freaking leggings these days. I don't know what to say, you know? Anyway, it's like, it's a cool thing to do to wear leggings. I don't know. Anyway, so didn't the hair get caught? Anyway, never start. Anyway, but moving right along. Anyway, now I forgot where I was going. And it's also this empty-headed virtues thing, the addictive thing. So it's addictive. I mean, when my channel went from 1,000, 23,000 subscribers, doing content for people honestly became kind of addictive because you got a response, people were engaged. And for me, it wasn't fame and by ego. It was like, I'm getting the message across. People were hearing this. We're having a debate about it. That was the addictive part for me. Now, obviously, the lady showing off her boobs, either the money she's making from 16 million views is the addictive part, or she likes people looking at her body. But it does become addictive. And that's especially dangerous for 10 and 12 and 14-year-old girls and boys. It's insane. So the culture of entitlement, attention seeking, the addictiveness of it, and the short attention spans. You know, I do shorts now and I get 50,000 views. I do an in-depth 5-minute analysis, which isn't long, and I get 500 views because people don't have the attention span to watch this stuff. And then the last piece, I think, Koketso, to finish this off, that really brings us to a T is that this empty-headed virtue signaling. Ukraine. Oh, we're with Ukraine. Let's put a little tag on here. You're like, that's going to change what's happening in Ukraine. You want to do something for Ukraine? You know, pressure your politician to do something. Don't put up with the nonsense. You know, and it's so many other things. Oh, GBV. Oh, I'm Michelle Ramaphosa. We're doing something about GBV. What were you doing yesterday? What are you doing tomorrow? And by the way, Nolu, that's the point I was going to get earlier. There is a role for government in this. Not that you said there wasn't. And that's prosecution and deterrence. You pay a penalty and you're prosecuted. You spend time in prison. You lose your liberty for violating someone, for harming them with gender-based violence. You pay a price. The government's not doing that in South Africa. But the real issue with gender-based violence is we have to change the culture of South Africans who think it's okay to attack another person with impunity, to insert something in them, to touch them in a way that it violates their personal dignity. That's the culture that has to change, and that's on our communities. That's our responsibility, and we are all failing our communities for tolerating that nonsense. So that, just to follow up on that. So Dumo, there's kind of my thoughts on what Koketso's point was. I think that I agree with him. It's really just starting, but there is a backstory to how we got here. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I actually released an article on my website about social media. And there's this term that I created called validation markers. And I said that these validation markers actually have an effect on content creators and consumers of social media. And as a result, we actually, you know, because we didn't release episodes of the Man Patriot podcast recently, I actually changed the social media policy. And I said, look, guys, I think what we should be doing rather is that we post content on our website because there's very little validation markers there and people are going to be forced to engage our content. Unfortunately, what has happened over time, and this is not an indictment on social media. I don't think anyone would have predicted what I observed, but I think what has happened over time is that these validation markers have kind of like can harm a content creator's perception. So if you got like, let's say 800 videos and you only got like 1,000 subscribers, then it looks like as if you're trying too hard, you know? And then people, and because of that, that information that's right there that people can see, they tend to make these judgments on your content and may not even look at it. So it's almost like going into a shop, right? Or going to a mall, and in each and every mall, there is like some counter of foot traffic for the day. I mean, would you sell at that mall? And I said, probably not, because people may not come in if my traffic is very low, but if it's very high, they most likely will come in. So that's what I think about social media in a nutshell. Now, just going back.
Good point.
Yeah, going back just to how it affects young children and everything like that. I think, yeah, that culture, it's not necessarily the greatest thing. I think over time, as Koketso said, I think what happens is that you're going to get these people that are unemployable, seeking for validation on social media and stuff like that. And it's not good. The kids need to be in an environment where, as you said, the identity is created by challenges that they can overcome, as opposed to posting something and then constantly checking to see if people have liked it or not or commented and stuff. So that's a lesson that I had to learn as well, and I agree totally with what you guys have said.
No, it's a good point, Dumo. And folks, look, I could do this all day, and it would be great, but it would be unfair to ask my co-host to stay that long. So we'll probably wrap it up here shortly. But it's. I remember back in the late 1990s when the internet for the public took off. Of course, I was on the internet when it was the ARPANET back in the day through government services. But and then I was on the internet for dial-up for things like proprietary services like CompuServe and America on Hold, as I used to call it, America Online and Prodigy. I had all those services. We called America on Hold because you could never get through. But back in the 90s, all these startups were, clicks. We got this many clicks. And I'm like, what does a click tell you? And that's what the question I was asking in 1996, 1997, before the internet imploded. We had all the software crash. These companies, they crashed in 1998. And I said, and that's when I got out. I invested in Netscape and in CD Now and FogDog and all these other companies. And then I got out of them because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. When are you going to start making money? You can only hemorrhage cash for so long. Clicks don't mean anything. It just means that somebody visited your site. Did they engage? Did they buy something? How long did they spend there? You need more data. And I think the point you're making, Dumo, is that some of the data that's presented to us really misleads people, and they make invalid judgments or assessments of things. There's some really quality content on YouTube that just doesn't get anything. In the meantime, flashing your boobs and your bum gets 16 million. Now, I look, some of those videos are very professionally done. I'm telling you, some of those boob and bum videos are very well done. High quality, high content. These are Oscar or Academy Award winning quality things for documentaries.
You would know.
Well, as a journalist, it's my responsibility to investigate that. Look, you didn't have to listen to everything Julius Malema said. I did, so I could convey it to you. You didn't have to watch the video of the 48-year-old lady showing off her bum and boobs. I did, so that we had the full context of it. It's the sacrifice I make for you as a journalist. I want you to know that.
Kim Kardashian did something, thanks to her for this.
Oh, well, if it wasn't Kim Kardashian, it would have been somebody else. She just got there first. And actually, Paris Hilton got there before her, as I recall.
Yeah.
And even before her, it was Pamela Anderson, I think, was the first one. With Tommy Lee. That's where it all started, Back in the day when there was hardly anything on the internet, people trying to download a 5 megabyte video. It's all grainy. Is that really Pamela Lee? I can't see anything. It's a lot of elbow there. Is that his forearm? Anyway, it's...
I'll blame men for this.
Oh, fine. We're just evil creatures. Blame men. At least for today, you need us. Maybe in 5 more years, you won't need us, But with science, But wait, no, the science is settled, so I'm not worried about that. There's no scientific discovery unless Jacinda Ardern tells us what it is,
And men can give birth now, so hey.
Oh, yeah. Men can give birth. Oh, dear God. It's the world is so far upside down. Okay, let's go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. Folks, thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate coming in for K-Nako. I've got to say that this has been the funnest of our K-Nako Call of Africa broadcasts that I think we've had so far. And also, we've had a bigger audience. And I'm not going to say it's because a lady came on this show, but hey, men are dogs, Nolu. So I don't know what to tell you. we hit 100 today. So now, to be fair, Koketso's looking kind of dapper, so maybe some of the fellas liked his appearance. That might be what it was. But we hit 100 on this show. It's the best we've done in this program so far. And we've had a few of these shows where we had a smaller audience because people don't know what K-Nako means, and it lagged a little bit. I thought I'd help them by saying the Call of Africa. They just assumed that's what it meant, But anyway, it didn't work. But maybe we're building up an interest here, which is good because I think the conversation is quality for people to understand. Anyway, we've covered a lot of ground today. Mr. Ed in New Zealand and the spicy cough in China. Joe Biden we barely mentioned, thank goodness. And we've also talked about Tembisa, the place where I'll be residing shortly. Not. And then we also talked about many other things, including Ramaphosa and Juju, which is where he started out. But Nolu, let me ask you this question. I'm not going to go around the hoop. I'm just going to pick at random here. What do you got going on? What's coming up here now? You've got your own program that you started, right? You've got your own videos you're putting up now. If so, can you tell people a little bit about that? Because I didn't put the links in. I'll put them in afterwards. People can go find you.
Yeah, something which is I'm quite slow in it, but yeah, I'm just doing it for fun anyways. So yeah, it's a podcast. I do try and do video as well, but it's mostly on sound only, which of course you can find it on Apple Podcast and all other podcast platforms. It is the page, of course, there on YouTube. And like I said, it's really going slowly, but I'll get back to it. Like I said earlier, I've got to pay them bills, so I don't really have much time. But I'll get back to to track on that. So that's where you can find me. All social media platforms, including the deadly and influential TikTok. Find me there.
Deadly and influential. Listen, Nolu, I am a consultant. I do offer IT services, and just a little free advice. I won't charge you for this. If you're trying to grow a subscriber base, doing an audio only where the dudes can't see you isn't going to help. You got to be on camera. I'm just saying, sis. I'm just saying.
You guys are dirty.
Sissy, where do you reside?
Wait, why are you saying you guys? I have said nothing.
Koketso has been very well behaved and reserved. It's been mostly me and a little bit of Dumo, so I'm just saying.
You should listen to their man Patreon. This guy's silly. I could never, I'm like, no, let me stop. This guy's silly.
It's Nzuzo. It's Nzuzo.
Yes.
He's the instigator. He's the instigator. So Koketso, let's go to you. And any thoughts you want to share with us, any of this stuff, or maybe want to talk about Man Patriot as well?
Okay, I'll leave Man Patriot to Dumo, of course, since he is in the room. I typically do that when he is in the room. But look, I think it's very important that a lot of conversations are actually had. Because and I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. There's few other areas where some of these conversations are going to be had. And if not for yourself, you're basically doing for someone else who's going to watch this 5 years from now when you're a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and they're basically looking to see how they can be a little bit older and a little bit wiser. So in the pursuit of doing something that'll be greater than yourself and potentially outlive you, the least you can do is talk about certain things that you find beneficial to those that are going to come after the fact. And small as this is, it's something. And it costs nothing, I guess. So, yeah.
Awesome. I knew there's a reason we wanted you on this program. Great comments there. By the way, there have been a lot of really complimentary things in the chat. I wasn't able to bring most of them in today. So thank you, everyone in the chat, for that. And thank you, whoever came over, realizing that Wednesdays with the Colonel wasn't happening today. Courtesy of load shedding. So, Koketso, thank you very much for that. Dumo, chance to pimp the Man Patriot channel here. And any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, man. Today was a great show. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the discussion. Brilliant points that were brought up by everybody. Looking forward to the next one, whenever that would be. With regards to Man Patriot, just go to the website, our website, manpatriot.com. I think we will be back, next week, if I'm not mistaken. We just need to check availability of everyone. But we'll be back. We will be releasing episodes soon. Our website is the place to be, guys. So our social media may be a bit, what's the right word? It may be a bit underwhelming, but when you go to our website, you'll see a totally different world. So please go to Man Patriot. Overwhelming. You will see it is just amazing, and the reason why, it's because we believe our content is good. And unlike YouTube, on the other hand, that doesn't appreciate us that much. What's the point of putting it up if they're not going to appreciate us? But the website, it looks amazing. So please go check it out, guys. Yeah.
Well, there you go, folks.
It's still on the podcast channels, right, Dumo?
Yeah, we're still on Google and everything. Google Podcasts, Spotify, the works, Iono FM. I don't know the other ones, but we're there. And Apple Podcasts. Yeah, we're there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. A completely unbiased view of the Man Patriot podcast from Dumo Denga. No, but it's really good content, good quality stuff, folks. And remember, views and number of times somebody's viewed a video doesn't equate to quality content. Just keep that in mind. And even when my channel was blowing up and I was getting 15,000 views per day in 2,500 hours, that didn't mean my content was good. It was, but that doesn't mean it was good. It just meant that it was the trending thing at the moment. Sometimes good content isn't always trending because people don't want to hear the truth or they just don't want to admit what's going on. But once again, to my co-hosts for this program, Nolu, welcome to the panel.
Chris, wait.
What?
Koketso has got something new that he doesn't want to talk about. Koketso, tell them about your website. Listen, I've got thing for Koketso because he's for my dad's side. So yeah, say it. Wow. The website. Tell them.
Tell them.
Yeah, I've got a website coming out in a few days. That's koketsoresani.com, where I'm going to actually be writing on a weekly basis. Yeah, I've been working on it for close to 2 years now, and the perfectionist in me really has been taking my sweet time with it. But yeah, I've decided to commit. I even have calendar entries blocking out my time to actually put pen to paper, I guess. Well, put fingers to keyboard. So yeah, that's going to come out on Monday, and then I'm going to look to blogging once or even twice a week on all sorts of things, economics, philosophy, politics, but probably most likely 40% of it, give or take, will be about tech. So I'm quite a big techie, even though I don't look the part. Maybe the glasses give it away. But yeah, I wear many hats, and that's what I'm going to try put them nicely and neatly on a shelf that is a website.
That's pretty awesome. Will you be taking guest writers, or is it just be all your content?
I'm thinking about it. The problem is once you have one, then yeah, it kind of looks bad if there's only one. So yeah, if I can get maybe 2 or 3 that can, now and then pitch in, why not?
Well, if you're interested, I'll offer. I write for Ramon Kabinet's Morning Shot website. I've done about a dozen articles on there, and if you're interested in my content, I'd be happy to contribute now and then. You just don't tie me to a schedule because you're not paying me.
Cool. Oh, and I'm going to be sending some of it to Man Page's website as well.
Okay, it sounds great. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. This one's been a lot of fun. If things go well and United Airlines is capable of carrying off what I've paid for, and Lufthansa is also capable of carrying off what I paid for, 2 weeks from today, I will be at this time in Cape Town, probably just leaving Groot Constantia wine estate, the oldest vineyard in South Africa, founded in 1685. I'll be meeting with the CEO there, and we're doing a documentary and doing interviews. So if things go well. So I'll be in South Africa to be the 17th of August for my nearly month-long journey there. And as far as doing the next one of these, either we'd have to do it next week, and I don't know if anybody's up for that, or when I'm in South Africa, we'd do it then probably. We'll do one if possible. For folks who don't know, I will be in Pretoria on the 25th of August. I'll be staying in Arcadia. I have body armor and sidearms. It'll be okay. No, but I'm staying in Arcadia, and there'll be a meet and greet there. I haven't set up where that's going to be yet, but we'll have a meet and greet in Hatfield or Brooklyn or somewhere out there, Menlyn. We'll have a meet and greet, or maybe even in Arcadia, if you want to come there. And I'll be meeting with a lot of different folks and doing a lot of activities when I'm there. Just the one day in Pretoria, but I will be in the area. Before that, I'll be up in Zeerust. I'll come back. I'll be in the Mahalisburg, and then I'll be at Brits, and then one day in Pretoria, and from there I drive down to Howick and KZN. And I will be back in Gauteng for Joburg and Pretoria from the 31st when I get to Vanderbilt Park, and I'll be there 31st, the 1st, the 2nd, and 3rd. I depart on the 3rd. So there'll be meet and greets and a chance to get together and hopefully interview some of my previous guests, like some folks here. Obviously not Nolu because she's in the Western Cape, but I will be getting down that way to Paarl. So anyway, if you guys are going to be able to get there, I just get out there now because people fall behind their WhatsApp messages. And I'm sharing in the Colonel's Travel Coordination Group, which is in WhatsApp and in Telegram, all the updates so that people, if they want to link up with me, come places. I will be knackered when this is over if it goes according to plan. I am going from one place to another. In the Western Cape, I'm in the Western Cape for 10 days. I've scheduled 5 meet and greets, plus I'm at the World Cup for 3 days. So, and I'll probably do more. Anyway, so just to let you guys know. So there you go. Definitely Nolu, Paarl. I'm definitely going to do something there. I'll need some help from somebody that can help me find a venue that doesn't cost money where people can go and we can hang out and meet. And I'll be going to the Tal Monument if anybody wants to go there with me just to check it out and see it again. It's a great monument.
We should hike there.
Well, yeah, but time is of the essence. It's only so much time. So a lot of things I'd like to do, like I may not even get on Table Mountain this time just because time is short. But I'm doing about 4 months of effort in about 1 month of time. So it's going to be a lot. But anyway, there you go, folks. So thank you all so much. Kia leboa. Really appreciate you guys being on here. Koketso got that. No one else did. No, maybe Nolu got that. She might know that from her dad. Anyway.
I did. Come on.
Okay, see, there you go. Can't presume things. All right, guys. Thanks a lot, and best of luck on Koketso on launching your website. I look forward to seeing it, and for everyone listening to the Man Patriot site and to Nolu's No Image, because she doesn't want the guys to come looking for her podcast. Go check those out.
It is there, but not all the time, Chris.
I'm trying to help you get 16 million views so I can get my cut. Come on, man. It's all about the Quan. Show me the money. And if you don't show me the money, shut up, young man. Oh, gosh. It's the Not a Garden Boy Tour 2022. You think I'm kidding? I'm going to have a poster that says that. I'm already working. I already got the graphics. I'm going to have it made in South Africa.
Lovely.
Domestic content. All right, folks. I'll let you drop off unless anybody wants to jump in and throw something in real quick because I know everybody's got stuff to do. So thank you all so much.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, there you go, folks. There you go. Nako, the Call of Africa. Once again, Nolu, Dumo, and Koketso. Are they dropping off? Everybody's just hanging out. I'm going to put you guys in the waiting room. Here we go. So, put in the waiting room. There's one. Okay, let me put in the waiting room.
Kick us out, Chris.
I'm kicking you out, man. I'm kicking you out. Putting you in the waiting room. And then I'm putting Nolu in there. The lady goes last. Is she gone?
I'm still here.
You're still there. I couldn't kick you out.
Kick me out.
It won't let me
kick me out.
Oh, here we go. All right, you go. All right. There you go. All right, folks. Hey, thanks a lot. This was a lot of fun today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a great time. Thank you so much. Take care. And I'll be off in a few weeks. So if you're in South Africa and you'd like to meet and greet and hang out and get to know me a little bit and see me in person, you're welcome to do that. My accommodation for the northern portion of the tour is almost complete. Almost every night is booked. Thank you for that. For the people I've asked to meet with, if I haven't been able to schedule, my apologies. Real disappointment. The Inkatha Freedom Party got back with me. It looks like I'm not going to be in Durban when they've made it possible for me to meet with them, and that's just unfortunate timing. In fact, I'll miss the dedication of the Mangosuthu Buthelezi Foundation, which is taking place on 31st August. I'm kind of heartbroken about that. I really would love to have been there, but unfortunately I won't be. So that's just the way things worked out. But anyway, so thank you all so much, and thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like button, and we'll see you here tomorrow. No night owls tonight. It's already 1400 here on the East Coast, so we'll see you tomorrow. Rob Hutchison will be here tomorrow for Answer the Question, so thank you for that. And then I'll be on Ronaldo after Rob and I are on together. All right. Thank you, folks. God bless and have a lovely day. And take care of yourselves out there. And don't virtue signal because it doesn't really accomplish anything. All it does is make people angry. So if I could just find, I really need to work on the order of these things here. I had this a moment ago, my outro. There we go. Cheers, everybody.